is a privilege and an honor to share the Torah of our esteemed rabbi and teacher, Harav David Weiss Halivni Zatzal, as compiled and presented through our teacher, Rabbi Ronald Price. This comes from the recently published Divrei Halev, Thoughts of Professor David Weiss Halivni on the weekly Torah Portion. I'd like to share one of Rav Halivni's insights at the beginning of Parshat Tavo. The Parsha begins with one of the most famous passages in Torah, made famous because it is recited on each night of the Pesach Seder. A farmer brings his bikurim, his first fruits, to the Bet HaMikdash, and standing there with the produce in his hands, he makes the following declaration: Arami oved avi vayered Mitzrayma. My ancestor was a wandering Aramean. He went down to Egypt. We were enslaved. God heard our cries. He took us out of Egypt and brought us to this land. Rav Halivni asks, in effect, to look at the passage not from the vantage point of the Seder, but in its original Torah setting. Imagine the farmer. He's just harvested his crop. He's just schlepped to Yerushalayim. He has the fruit in a basket. He has every right to be grateful. But why doesn't he simply say, thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, bring a korban, and that's the end of it? Why is it necessary to give and to recite a long history lesson? Arami oved avi. According to Rav Halivni, the answer is simple. The present, the farmer's present motion right then and there at the Beit HaMikdash is incomplete unless he acknowledges the past. And not the early past, not the fact that he planted a seed and it grew a few months earlier. He has to understand the long chain of events that made it possible for him to stand at that precise moment with those fruits in his basket. His gratitude doesn't begin with the farming that he had done, with the rains and the harvesting. It begins generations earlier. Arami oved avi. The farmer has to appreciate Mitzrayim. He has to appreciate slavery. He has to appreciate redemption. He has to appreciate generations through the Midbar, through the wilderness. He has to appreciate Kivush Haaretz, entry into Eretz Yisrael. Only then can he look at the basket at his feet and he can understand what's really inside it. It's far more than just the bikurim. This is a very different concept of gratitude than most of us are used to. We tend to think of gratitude as simply something good happens to us and we say thank you. Rav Halivni suggests that genuine gratitude, profound gratitude, requires something in addition to a thank you. It requires memory. To appreciate where we are, we have to know where we came from. And that observation takes us beyond the bikurim itself. We live in a time, Baruch Hashem, where it's easy to take Jewish existence for granted. We have thriving communities. We have schools and synagogues. We have institutions. We have butchers and bakers. We have restaurants. We study Torah openly. And after 2,000 years, we have Eretz Yisrael and Medinat Yisrael. But none of these things simply happened. They didn't just appear on the world stage. Rav Halivni writes that if Jews were personally conscious of the history contained in the Psukim, then no one would take the existence of Eretz Yisrael for granted. And that observation was deeply personal for Rav Halivni. Here was a man whose own particular life traversed worlds that most of us know only as history. The destruction of European Jewry, the rebuilding of life in America, a lifetime devoted to Torah and scholarship and mitzvot, and ultimately Aliyat Yerushalayim. For Rav Halivni, history was not something that happened to other people a long time ago. It was deeply personal. And that is precisely the lesson of Bikurim. The Torah doesn't allow the farmer to say, my ancestors were slaves in Egypt. They were taken. He has to say, Vayiru otanu hamitzrayim, vanitzak vayotzienu Hashem mitzrayim. The Egyptians afflicted us. We cried out. God took us out of Mitzrayim. The past is recited in the first person, and that, Rav Halivni teaches us, is the essence of Jewish memory. And that's also precisely why this passage is so crucial, so fundamental to the Maggid section of the Pesach Seder. The command is not merely to tell us what happened to our ancestors, but bechol davar dor chayav adim lirot et atzmo ki'ilu hu yatsa miMitzrayim. In every generation, we have to see ourselves as we left Egypt. Because once history becomes someone else's history, even the history of our parents and grandparents and ancestors, the gratitude is simply not the same. It's more removed. It's more difficult. Tavo and the mitzvah of Bikurim teach us that when we look at a blessing, we have to ask not only, what do I have, but how did I get here? The long, winding road that brought me to where I am. For Rav Halivni teaches that we cannot understand the present without knowing the past, and the only way to appreciate the fruit in our basket is to remember the journey that brought us there.